So we're good to go. Hi, Rich. I'm really, really excited about this.
Hi, Steph.
Hi. So just for those people who don't know, this has been part of a kind of dream of mine of starting to really connect with people that I've met and who've inspired me in some way or another and expanded my work around sort of health and detox and well-being. And this is an area that you're particularly invested in. So just to give a bit of background to anybody who's watching, I met Rich, who owns a fantastic company called Enrichd. Look, there's one of the packets there. And at the David Wolfe talk in Birmingham
Oh,
earlier this year.
very nice.
And we got chatting, didn't we, about your chaga and your medicinal mushrooms. And from there, a really lovely connection's been made. Personally speaking, I've been so inspired by your products, but not just that, but your ethos and the heart that you put into things that I'm just also letting people know now I'm supplying your chaga and some of your other products to other people, distributing them and selling them myself because I really passionately believe in what you're doing. So I would love to, you could give you a few moments to just say anything you want to say. You're on the other side of the world at the moment, not in the UK for the winter. And then I've got a few questions that hopefully will give people a bit more knowledge about the amazing things that you do and the products that you distribute and sell and why you do that. So tell
Yeah,
us
brill.
something about where you are right now.
Right, well, thank you. And it's amazing to have connected with you as well. In fact, all the David Wolfe events I've been to have been just really amazing for meeting people, like really good people. Yeah, and we really connected, and I'm really happy that we just kept in touch. And yeah, thanks for helping people get into chaga and different mushrooms. And yeah, so I'm in Bogota in Colombia, in South America. I spend part of the time here, and part of the time in the UK. It used to be a triangle with LA, so Bogota, LA, and then the UK as well. But LA's on ice for now. But I'll come back into that in a minute because Los Angeles was a really big turning point for my learning, my health, just being exposed to all these amazing foods, mushrooms, teas. But backtracking a little bit, like there's been some like kind of I guess in society they would say dark patches in my past. Like I had a tumor in my left shoulder. I don't know if you can see that. There's still a lovely scar reminder
Wow.
of that. Yeah, it was a malignant tumor called dermatofibrosarcoma protuberans. I think I was like 20, I don't even know, 23, 24, maybe 25 when I had it. And I remember the experience quite vividly, although I don't really speak about it too much or want to, I don't want to bring it back too much. But that was a really big turning point of life because I remember being lay on this bed after the second operation. So they did this thing called Mohs surgery where they dig in, cut out hopefully the bad cells, and they take whatever they say. For example, say they take this out. Obviously, it wasn't that big.
Yeah.
And they'll go, okay, so in this quarter there's nothing, in this quarter there's nothing, in this quarter, oh shit, there's still some badness in this one. Oh, this one's clear as well. So this one, so then they operate down again into that area to hopefully take out more of the bad. And after this first operation, there was three of the quarters still had the cancer in it. So I'm laying on the bed thinking, oh God, waiting for the next operation to see if they can dig far enough to see how far it had spread. And it's just like there's this moment of complete powerlessness. Rightly or wrongly, I had the operation. I don't know if I could have used mushrooms or different foods to clear it up or meditation or whatever. But I'm glad now that I did that. But just that moment of laying on the bed thinking, wow, I really have no idea what's happening right now or no control what this was. And standing back from that, I was quite an overweight kid. So depending on how how deep you want to look. Like maybe I was given these challenges in life to learn and to see what I could come out with on the other end. But I feel like I'm learning pretty well. I'm being exposed to information, people, and foods that are invaluable, amazing, really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And then as I get exposed to these things, feel like compared to 10 years ago, I mean, I felt well then. I was like training really hard, drumming all the time. But compared, like the depth of my health now, 10 years later compared to then, it's a different planet, even compared to like 5 years ago. And one of a few of the biggest changes that I've made are these beautiful medicinal mushrooms.
Yeah. I mean, amazing story, and one that I'm sure many people will relate to, that quite often we come to our awakening, if you like, or to improving our own health status by some kind of trauma or some kind of addiction or illness or struggle. And it kind of really, I suppose, makes us, if we're fortunate enough to really get a grasp on it, like aware that perhaps there are other ways to do things, or perhaps there's other ways that we can actually have some influence over our own health. And, you know, as you know, I work with detoxing, and, you know, the more I do, the more I learn about what's possible. So, you know, I'm like at a point in my life now where I'm healthier than I was, similar to you, like from 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago. I just think, you know, my energy levels are consistently stable. I really feel and know when I'm eating or drinking things that aren't good for me. And sometimes I let myself do that, but I put myself back on track and I have that consciousness. And, you know, it's so critical to, I suppose, to raise people's awareness of the fact that, you know, there's so much that we can do for ourselves in the way that you did. And I didn't know that part of your story. So thanks for sharing that. You know, it's really, really moving. And I mean, the first thing that I discovered about you was when apart from the conversation we had, was like sending off for your ebook and kind of seeing the level at which you were making smoothies and juices with different bases to the ones that I was using, which really inspired me as well. And like you say, you know, the David Wolfe talk, I mean, you know, so many people have an opinion about David Wolfe. It became really obvious afterwards. And all I can say is from that talk, I was really, really inspired by the level of his passion and his knowledge and the people I met there. So, you know, and I feel it in my body. I feel it in my cells. It felt like the truth, whatever that is, not with the big definitive T, but certainly for me, it felt like the truth. So, I
just want to dive back into that. Like, I've interviewed David 3 times now. I've spent probably 40 minutes in each interview chatting with him. And like, as my knowledge changed and my experience of life changed, it was really interesting seeing him obviously change over. It was like a 3 or 4 year period that I interviewed him. I mean, without going into like all of the dietary changes and the rules and regulations that people have, he just seemed in the last year to be at a point of like, you know what? This stuff's brilliant. This information is like really, really good. And it's got thousands of years of roots. And the people and I've seen some of the comments that come onto my video interviews with him. It's like, wow, what could possibly be causing that kind of reaction to a man saying, hey, this mushroom that has 10, 20 years of scientific studies on it and thousands of years use may actually like prevent immune system problems. It may help an allergy problem. It may, like, I read one this morning, like I just thought, you know what, I've got 20 minutes, I'm going to read another study. I read one on, it was just yet another study, a 2016 study on CHAGA, suppressing the spread of cancer. It was in rats. That's a whole other conversation, that world of experiments. But their findings were that this mushroom was slowing the spread of the cancer in these little creatures. Like, that's great. Like, brilliant. Don't attack that information.
Exactly, and I so agree. Like, we're so locked in our ways of thinking and our responses that, it's what David Wolfe referred to as the difference between science and scientism. When people
Yeah.
almost become like, in the same way that religion can have a spirituality or a fundamentalism, it's the same version around science, when people just won't accept anything that they think hasn't been proven. And yet, who creates these kind of studies and balances and rules and regulations? I'm very much of the mind where now I use my body and I check in with myself, and I'm willing to explore what potentials there are. And from doing that and having that willingness, like, that's what I've seen massively improving my health. And similarly, I might know when I'm going too much at something. If 90% of our serotonin is produced in the gut, and what we're eating and what we're drinking is affecting our well-being. Years ago, when I first heard that food is mood statement, I was like, oh, what does that mean? Yeah, but how much? What? And now I'm just going, yeah, absolutely. And, we are electromagnetic beings, that we are responding to everything we put in. And as you say, a lot of this stuff is ancient knowledge that's just been written out. And another big conversation that we won't go into now is obviously profits and pharmaceuticals. I like to bring it back to the heart. Everything comes back to the heart for me, in terms of, okay, rather than engaging that duality thinking and the them and us and the this is right and the that's wrong, let's just explore what's possible for us. So your products, since I've been using CHAGA and using it every day, and, I've got mine here. I was inspired because I saw you were brewing up as well, ready for the interview, and more people are starting, I want one of those kettles. I ordered one and it smashed. I'm going to get another one. But yeah, more and more people are starting to ask me about it and, ask what it's good for. So I thought, it's really timely that we've got this interview, so we can go straight to you, because you've got loads more experience than I have with this. So you've already told us a little bit about your story and how you discovered medicinal mushrooms, and that came from that time of illness in LA. And so, like, when did you first notice, would you say, that when you started using them, did you notice a difference immediately? What was your journey with mushrooms, and was it particularly CHAGA or others as well?
Ooh, yes to all of that. So just to backtrack, so the illness wasn't in LA. LA was this kind of like this moment of, wow, oh my gosh, look what these people are doing. Look at these guys. And I live with these beautiful guys, and met a load of amazing people studying Chinese medicine. Okay, that was like kind of the first like real, like, deeper insights into like the information on this stuff. Above that level, when I got there, I was like, right, I want to drink some really good tea, because I'd just been to, sadly, that's gone now, Tea Smith in London, and interviewed the guy there, and like that was, I'll tell you about that. That was a beautiful moment. So I had huge amount of diarrhea for about 2 days, and I went into this tea shop when I finally got my energy up again. This is probably 7 years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago. And I went in and I was like, I know you've got a good tea in here for digestion. Like, what the girl there said, try this PUERH, this SHOU PUERH, because it's like the one you tried, right?
Yeah, I love it.
It's so good. It's aged, it's fermented, and it may help your gut right now. It's probably the best one in here, because green tea.
There we go.
Oh, very good. Look at this.
Amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So she said, try that. Yeah.
And she said, try this. So I sat there for probably 2 hours drinking this 2008 SHOU PUERH. So when I say 2008, it's kind of like, it's kind of similar to wine in the understanding of it. So they'll take the leaves in 2008 and then dry process them, and then ferment them, dry them, and then they'll be left waiting for someone to drink them at the right time. And so I'm drinking a 2008 SHOU PUERH, and for 2 hours I stood up afterwards and I was like, oh wow, that feels good. Like, what is that? There's this tingling in my stomach. like that thing you were saying earlier, mood. And I started walking Spitalfields Market. I started walking through Spitalfields Market. And I'm like, oh my God, it feels really, really good. And I got to the point, and I'm walking through, and there's a lot of guys in suits, women and guys in suits coming out of the offices. It was like office closing time. And I was like, oh God, I was like probably at like 90% of an orgasm whilst walking down the street. And all that had happened is I'd had like, let you laugh it out, right? This is mad. So I'd had gastroenteritis. I don't think I'd been vomiting. I think I'd just been pooing. So I was just completely empty. This is like a couple of days. And then I'd not really eaten anything, just drank this tea. And there I am walking through Spitalfields Market, having this just unbelievably pleasant sensation, like going from my stomach upwards and outwards. Like, wow, there's something. And they say, like in tea and in like the history of tea, they say she speaks to you, like tea speaks to you. And if tea was ever going to speak to me, it was in that moment that she spoke. So when I got to LA, based on that experience, I wanted to find good tea. So I was on Twitter, and the tweets will still be there. I was like, where's the good hashtag tea in LA? Where's the tea in LA? Show me the tea. And nothing came through for like weeks. And then I met a really beautiful lady called Tiffany, and I started training her daughter, the personal training. I'm a trainer too. And or was it through, I don't know, through Tara and Tiffany, I'm not quite sure how the connection was. He said, you have to go and drink tea with these people. They sit and they do these ceremonies. And it was just the most beautiful introduction to this whole community and the tea leaf and Wuda, and so much information, and also the start of a lot of questioning of myself, a lot of meditating, a lot of sitting, and just a lot of looking deeper rather than just drinking a cup of tea. It's like it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
So that was where it started. LA, tea, and then living with these awesome guys studying, who are now practitioners of Chinese medicine. That's where it all began for me. Yeah.
That's such a lovely story, because, you know, it's this thing about, you know, kind of actually being present and putting in the effort, and also seeing something beyond just the mechanics of what we do, kind of like really actually starting to notice what's happening in our body, knowing that we're feeling good, wanting more of that, please. Okay, yeah, that's actually given me a great feeling. How can I expand on that? You know, and that's certainly been my journey with the CHAGA and the other things that I've tried out. And similarly with other supplements, you know, like I'm a big fan of maca, and because I felt how it was affecting my body and the changes in my sort of physiology and my psychology as well, if you like, my emotional well-being, which sounds dramatic, but I think the more if you have an immediate observation like the one you had in London in the tea shop, you know, obviously kind of that's immediate, and you're like, wow, this is good, I want to know more of that. So I mean, it's a beautiful story, and I'm so glad that led you to waking up. And where was the link there then from that moment with your teas into CHAGA and discovering medicinal mushrooms?
So I remember going to, it was a tea art show. So within the tea community, these beautiful guys and girls, and they do like these events. And one of them was as an art show. I think it was Wuda's art. You can Google Wuda Tea Taiwan and you'll find loads of information. And Global Tea Hut, really, really good. And there were these guys outside with this like little glass thing with a pipette in it. And they were outside their car, like doing droplets of this stuff under their tongue. And my only experience of things going under the tongue, well, not my experience, I've never done LSD, but was hearing about people put LSD tabs under their tongue. So my instant reaction was, oh, what are these guys doing? What's this? And they were in the tea community, good guys. I was like, God, they're doing a lot of acid whilst at this art show. Okay, we're in LA. Maybe that's what's happening. And I said, what is this, guys? And they're, oh, do you want some? I was like, well, probably not until you tell me what it is. And they said, well, it's REISHI mushroom. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that is. But yeah, they just nipped out. I don't know if they didn't nip out to do that. They were just happened to be doing that at the time. And what it was is an alcohol extract of the reishi mushroom, which I make now and also buy other people's, because it's such a beautiful mushroom to experience. Reishi is so good for the immune system. Has studies on anti-cancer, anti-tumor. And one of the things it's really known for is it's
got that one there.
You got one there.
I've got them all there ready. Yeah.
Oh, the reishi. That's the
mushroom of immortality. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just profound. So the reishi is well known for its I think it's like Shen tonic. It's called for helping develop spirit, expanding energy. And like I drink or use an alcohol version of that almost every day under the tongue or a tea.
Now you
and I'll take a few days or a week off. Now from that, I didn't try it then with those guys because I was still like a little bit skeptical. I was like, okay, and they were very respectful. They're like, okay, cool, no worries. And they kind of found it really amusing that I had no idea what reishi was, and that I was actually scared of this thing that is actually, again, for them, just so commonplace, thousands of years use.
And how many years ago was this?
This is probably 6 years ago now.
Okay.
6 or 7 years ago was a big turning point for me.
Yeah, I can hear that. Because now, if you think that's a relatively short time span, and looking at what you've got now and your investment in it and your knowledge in it from that moment, something must have really sparked some inspiration for you.
Yeah, just all of these layers of like living with Chinese doctors, practitioner of Chinese medicine, my own personal physical experience of well-being of it, of like simple things from recovery from workout to another little thing. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I did a trek in the Sierra Nevada in the north of Colombia to Sierra Perdida, which is like a 4 or 5 day trek. And I drank some dodgy water on the way out. I'd still got a day and a half trekking, and it hit me hard. Like I was like, certain people have certain areas of weakness or to develop. Mine is diarrhea. If I'm going to get anything, that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's what hit me. I'm coming out for about 3 weeks. I was suffering, which is a long time to have like diarrhea. I was like quite dehydrated. And I was like trying to figure out how do I like stop this? And I went to one of the nutrition shops in Cartagena in the north of Colombia, where most of the stuff that these shops have is like, genetically modified soy protein, whey protein with asuflame K, all these artificial sweeteners, which are, very damaging in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And the lady said, the lady said, "Oh, I've got these mushrooms. Do you wanna try them?" And still at that point, I hadn't like done enough research or got enough knowledge on them. That was actually before the LA experience. So the LA was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and the trek was 6 or 7 years ago. Dates to me, they kind of blur. And so she'd mentioned these mushrooms then to me, and I was like, yeah, maybe, all right. And didn't bother. But looking back now, that was reishi. It was a reishi mushroom, which is going to be antiviral. Again, supporting the immune system would have helped me fight off any of the pathogens that were in my body at the time. So it's so funny looking back, seeing these little messages, people going, "Hey, try this. Hey, try this." And me at the time saying, no, or later, maybe. And then now reading the studies, trying different brands of reishis. I now found in my own that I offer my own personal years and years of experience taking it. It's like, oh, wow. Yeah, so good. So
yeah. Good. So I would like to come on to a little bit more about CHAGA. So I've got this massive chunk there, which is one of yours.
Lovely.
And I know it's so beautiful. They feel like my babies, you know. I get like, you know, I've put some in the pan this morning to make a little brew. So simple to use. But I'd really like to explain to the people who might be listening a little bit more about what they might expect from, because many people are right at the beginning of these journeys. And I know it's common with juicing, for example, that people will go, oh my God, that tastes horrible. Somebody actually put a message on my Juicy Bees group this morning going, is there a nice way to have reishi? Because it tastes like vom. And I was just like, okay, well, you know, it's the similar with like kind of like wheatgrass, or it's similar with certain supplements. Spirulina is a common one as well, that people who aren't used to, whose taste buds are still affected by, you know, maybe a refined sugar diet, or not so used to eating these things, or some people just don't like them, that it can take a bit to adjust. I mean, I find chaga quite easy to, it's very earthy and really grounding, and there's many ways, you know, adding a cinnamon stick or goji berries or something else into the brew that can really enhance it. But I'd love you to tell us more about what this can do for you and what your experience has been, and why that's created so much passion for you.
Okay, so much in there. So
I know.
Firstly, let's go with it's good, the taste and the flavors. There's a little thing I learned from tea again, Camellia sinensis, is that drinking tea is like very good tea is done for the feeling first and then the taste. Okay, so the feeling can be, you can take that and dissect it as much as you want, but maybe thinking of reishi or chaga as a medicine. Like if you were taking a pill from the doctor and you sucked it and said, hey doc, this doesn't taste very good. Like, how do I make this taste better? He would probably just say, just drink it, or just take the pill.
Just do it.
Just do it. So there's different lines within this. So that taste, that bitter taste, is actually speaking to certain organs in your body. I think one is the spleen. It has a little chat with it. Activate something in there. It affects bile secretion. It's speaking to the liver. So that bitter or sour or whatever it is, that soil taste that you're taking, that thing is speaking to your organs, which is a good thing, because it's communicating to them. It's like seeing what's going on with them. What do they need? And then the organs are also like, there's like a dual communication going on. Like, okay, what's going to happen? What can I take from this?
I love that. Yeah.
So, firstly, like there's a lot of benefit in that taste. So, like deal with it, or if you really want to, you could find some sort of natural sweetener, like a lot of people do, and you can perhaps put some like a high quality stevia in there. Maybe like a really good one is to do a little bit of cacao with some either chaga or reishi, some stevia, maybe some nut butter that you like. You could blend that up, and there it's kind of like a hot chocolate you've got.
And we're talking, I just want to add this actually, just before you continue, I just want to add, because I did something when I first got it and you pointed this out to me, and this is important, I think. I'd been buying the chaga powder or the smaller chaga chunks, adding them to my smoothies, and then you were like, Steph, it's much better if you boil it first and extract all the volatile compounds and the terpenes so that you get much more from it, because otherwise you're only getting a fraction of what it does. So when you're talking about the flavour, I mean, I don't find, if you're just putting dry powder into your smoothies, it's not going to have that much of a flavour anyway. But would you say that that's really crucial to when you're using it, to always add the liquid from boiling rather than just crucial?
Yeah.
Great.
So if you just take chaga powder, like, I don't know if you can see that. So if you take that chunk and blend it up into a powder, which is totally fine, and then add that into a smoothie, your body's hardly going to absorb hardly any of it at all, because the heat of the water extracts certain properties from it. And or an alcohol extraction will extract certain properties as well. So, but on that note, you can get a powdered chaga extract, which I'm thinking of offering as well. just for convenience for people, because not everyone wants to boil it. But I just love the ritual of having this kettle, always with a load of chaga in it and water. And like every night, or like this morning, I just did it this morning, I'll simmer it for about 15 minutes and then make a really nice dark tea.
Yeah.
I enjoy it whilst I'm doing some work. And
yeah.
Is that what have you been doing? How have you been drinking it?
Same now. I just take chunks, not as big as that baby, obviously, you know, maybe a chunk off that, end off that, and boil it up in the stove. And I mean, I'm very used to kind of those bitter and medicinal flavors now, because, you know, it's come from like 20 odd years of juicing, and you know, kind of all those flavors have adapted. And I love what you said about it speaking to a certain part of you. And of course, there will be still some things you'll go, oh, that's not very pleasant, or you need to blend a little bit more. Interestingly, the lion's mane, this one, fantastic mushroom, but that's got a really almost bovril-y kind of flavour. So you're thinking, if I put that in my smoothies, I'm going to have a very distinct taste. And yet, once it's blended in, there's not much there to tell. So yeah, with my chaga,
that's a really good way of saying it for English. Yeah, it's kind of bovril-y. That's mine. I haven't got the label on mine, but I just got a load in there.
Oh yeah.
It is kind of bovril.
Yeah, it's got a kind of meaty, you know, obviously. It's a fascinating looking mushroom. Anyway, I'll get distracted and sidetracked. I want to be back on the chaga for a moment. So yeah, how I'm doing mine is the same as the way that you're doing yours. But what I do now is, if I'm adding anything to a smoothie, I just add some of the boiled liquid into that as well. So I'm still getting the maximum amount and then drinking it that way, because some mornings I won't fancy, actually it's rare now. I generally will fancy one of these each morning. And occasionally I'll just double boost it. Some days, you know, I'll leave it on the pan in water, and I'm telling my people that come and get it, you know, you can boil that same piece for 4 or 5 times, or 4 or 5 days, until the water stops becoming so dark brown, and then you know it's kind of done. And you're still getting all the goodness out of it. And the more you boil it, the more it breaks the cell wall down. That's right, isn't it? And so the more you're getting from it. Yeah. See, I've been paying attention to what you're telling me.
You're on it. Yeah. Like there's these videos out that says, how long should I boil chaga? Like, what is the best time? And some say 15 minutes, some say 3 hours, some say overnight to simmer it. Some say put it in a pressure cooker overnight. I keep it simple. So I've got a kettle with my chunks in it, and I know that after about 15 minutes I get a really nice dark liquid. So I'll happily drink that. I'm I enjoy that. Yeah. But then, like you say, is leaving the chunks in there, keeping the water level above the chunks, because when the chaga is exposed to air for too long, it can go moldy. But in water, it won't go moldy. Yeah. Or stays fresher for much longer, like months. And I've been drinking this for probably 3 or 4 weeks now.
Oh, really?
I mean, you see that. Oh, yeah, 3 or 4 weeks. And what I'll do is there's 2 big chunks. Oh, yeah. So I've got 2 big chunks in there, and then 3 or 4 little chunks.
Okay. So I'm using.
And so I mean.
Right, I'm giving up on mine then, perhaps before I've got the most from them, because I've just been saying to people 4 or 5 days, and generally it's ready to, maybe it's the size of the pieces or something like that.
So after 4 or 5 days, you might want to break the piece in half. And what you'll probably find is like these ones, if I break this in half now, there's probably some dry patches within the middle of the chaga, which when exposed to the water, the water will bring out the...
fabulous tip. Thanks.
Of it. Yeah. So yeah, you can keep them for even longer. And what was I saying? So for how long to do it? So because this has been going for like 3 or 4 weeks, the actual pieces have probably been boiled for a day at least. So maybe the first few that I did weren't quite as potent, because it hadn't got quite as deep into the mushroom or broken down the cell wall as much. But I know that now I'm getting like the best of the best of this mushroom through the hot water extraction. And then afterwards, what I'll do is I'll soak that in a strong organic vodka to get the betulin out of it as well, which has other properties in it.
Oh, because
Yeah.
I've got some at the moment on my windowsill soaking in vodka, just doing a small test one. I wish I'd done a bigger one now, actually, because it's gone really dark brown. It's been there for about 2 months now. And I know you
Okay.
said leave it for at least 3, but you can do that with the pieces that you've already boiled, can you?
Absolutely. And some people do it exclusively with the pieces that have already been boiled.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, I'm
Okay.
playing around with it, doing both at the minute. Yeah,
Wow,
I'm
fascinating.
just hugely into it. Just to list them off, just to not get just to get rid of the mystery. So for thousands of years, it's been used for the immune system to support the health of the human body, the human immune system. More recently, it's been studied for anti-cancer, antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory. I've got some more listed here. Some studies, it's been done on reducing blood pressure.
Mm.
An important thing to say is, like, not all things are for all people, and not all things will affect all people in the same way. We're
Yeah.
not doctors, but the studies have been done, and this mushroom has the potential to do this, and it has thousands and thousands of years of use.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I'm all in on it. I feel it, I love it, and I really love sharing it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I fully
I'm
agree
very,
with
very.
you. Yeah, we're not all the same, and that's one of the main things. One of the key messages in my work now that is the more I've evolved, the more I teach people now. Um, Everybody's body is different. Our physiologies are what we've experienced through life, the trauma that we store in our cells and in our bodies, and the things that have come down through our ancestral lines. All
Yeah.
sorts of reasons affect us differently. So I just say to people, like, really tune in and listen to your body and find what's right for you. And, and it must be the same in conventional medicine, because I'm not going to knock that. There's lots of great stuff being done in that as well. But there's also the fact that, there's a one size fits all. What's your problem? Here's the diagnosis, here's the medication to solve that. And sometimes you're just putting fire on fire and not getting to the root of the problem. But you can easily do that in unconventional medicine as well, where people aren't really learning how to listen to their bodies, and they're just slapping on supplements and hormones and pumping iron and everything else. So there's a real subtlety, I think, in starting to learn how to find what works for you. So I like that you've raised that. Thanks, that's great.
Yeah, very well said. That's really important.
It is, isn't it? So you also
Yeah.
offer, I've just shown a few of the others, like you've got the lion's mane. I really like that. That's nootropic. We could say stuff about that. We might keep that for another interview, actually, because we're already quite a way in. But I'm just thinking, you've got your green tea, reishi. If you had to pick one of your products and say which one you like the best, which would it be
Ooh.
at the minute? Is that like saying pick your favorite child?
I think so, yeah. I really do love them all, right? Like the chaga for all those reasons, the reishi for, like, I think for me the reishi is I think the reishi is, there's so many ways to go about this conversation. Like the spirit, the Shen element of the reishi, I think that's been a really big part of my growth, my development, my life, however you want to say it. But one thing I always do is when I do long haul flights, just to get very practical, on long haul flights now, I always take a reishi tincture and I'll do a few drops under my tongue during the flight, and then when I land, like an extra dosage. And what I've noticed in the last 2.5 years, after sorting out the bout of diarrhea from the trek in the Sierra Nevada, is that my immune system is just so strong. Like, I don't get things that I used to get.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get colds. I never get colds. I don't get the flu.
Yeah.
I'm just not affected by those things. Like, my stomach, my gut health, like I went through a phase of building my gut health, like eating fermented foods every day.
Yeah.
And when I'm in England, like, it's harder to get them here. I have to make them. But every day, some sort of sauerkraut, kombucha, or jun. Every day for like 30 days, 40 days, like 2 months.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it's like going to the gym and training it. Suddenly I'm like, oh my God, I digest food more effectively. Wow. And there are people out there that will say, oh yeah, it doesn't do anything because the acid in your stomach kills this and does that. I don't care what they say. I know that after those 30 or 60 days, my experience of a meal was completely different. My ability to, like, go on long haul flights and not feel as tired, or to recover more quickly. Just amazing. It's the personal experience is so important compared to perhaps someone that's been paid to go and comment on products or to comment on studies. You just see, like I've mentioned this, I've spent the last 4.5 years co-authoring a book with a celebrity trainer, Jeff Duperon, who's an amazing man in LA. That's kind of why I was out there. And through that learning process, just phenomenal growth and learning. But seeing people like comment and troll on things.
Yeah.
And then with the research of that book, seeing, oh, wow, there's actually a word, astroturfing, which means the manipulation of the media. If you Google astroturfing definition, you'll probably get something to do with football pitches or hockey pitches, but also the manipulation of the media to sway public opinion.
Yeah.
And part of that is to leave damning comments on studies or to release books or documentaries to persuade message.
Oh, you mean that goes on, really?
Yeah. Bonkers.
Yeah, and I love that you say, you know, I don't care what is said, I know how it makes me feel. My breathwork teacher, Anthony, who's a wonderful human being, he has this saying that where there are holes in your sovereignty, that's where the people get in. And I love that, because I've started to realize that if I can really stand in what I'm kind of believing and investing in, but also stay open to hearing other people's points of view and perspectives without just letting it go, oh my God, you know, so many people damn juicing for so many reasons. It doesn't work. It's this, you need the fiber, blah, 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 blah. So much so I've done like a Q&A sheet now about kind of what I believe about it. But I say to people, you take this and you make of it what you will. I'm no guru. You're your own guru. You're your own teacher. Use yourself and your own body wisdom. But in order to learn how to get to that, I do think there's a process where people have to unlearn what we've been given, you know, like sweets as rewards, or the belief that we need milk or we need protein from animal products or whatever it is, you know, and everybody's got different levels of what they commit to in their diet. So we're not really here to talk about that today, but it is that thing about, you know, kind of recognizing your own experience with what's happening for you, and supplementing, I think, with these kind of things is like different to just filling your body full of like a million vitamins and not really knowing what they're doing or why you might be short in something. So yeah, you can actually simplify. I'm like you, I haven't had a cold or flu for years. I can't remember the last time I had one, actually. Sometimes I'll get run down, but my thing is adrenals, but that's just from overachieving and burnout, you know. But even then there's been a lesson in that for me, you know, and there always is a lesson. It's like, okay, I need to slow down. I need to listen to my body even more. What's it trying to tell me? And in that slowing down, all of these things come to the light, you know, and show me like, something's popped into my world now that I can kind of experiment with and see what happens. And if the results are great, why would I stop?
Yeah.
Slight deviation there.
No, it's good. It's really good. The other factor with this, let's go with the chaga example for a second. It's from wild trees, and I think you can actually get farmed chaga now. I'm not certain. But I always and only drink and only offer wild chaga. And it's thinking about like the tree has this whole relationship with the earth, the air. The mushroom has this relationship with the tree. It's taking certain things from it that just so happen to do certain specific things in our body. And just paralleling that with tea, it's like a conversation in your body. Like when I got that sensation in my stomach, there's like this conversation going in, and we've got a choice to which conversation we want to have.
Yeah. With
tea, there's non-organic tea, which is obviously grown in pesticides, which affects the tree, the leaf, the soil, the animals, the bacteria in the soil, then runs off down the mountain, affects villagers, water supplies. That's very real. That's not a fabricated story. There's specific cases of that affecting families and giving them specific illnesses, and then the effects of the tea on the drinker. And that's one type of conversation within the human body. Forgetting about the farm and everything else that's happening on the mountain, That's one kind of conversation in your body. Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Is there such thing as good and bad? Is it affecting you positively or negatively? That's your experience. Then you've got organic, which affects the mountain, the farmers, the family, the microbacteria, the leaf, your cup in a certain way. And then you have a certain conversation with that, right? Which is, in my opinion, a very good conversation. Organic tea, awesome. Getting vitamins, minerals, health benefits, and the taste. And then you've got wild tea leaves, wild chaga. You've got wild reishi, wild fruits, bananas that haven't been selected and changed, or things that haven't been genetically modified. And you've got this conversation that has thousands of years of roots, or perhaps millions of years of roots in the earth, in the being, that then goes into your being and then has a chat. Like, how amazing is that? How lucky are we that we have these things available to us? Yeah. Like, it blows my mind sometimes. It blows my mind that we can choose. Do I want to choose the non-organic conversation? No, I never want to choose that conversation. My personal thing. Do I want to choose organic? Yeah, often I will choose an organic conversation. Do I want to choose wild conversations? Yeah, as often as I possibly can and sustainably can have that conversation. And it's the same with like humans. Like, we can have these conversations. I learn so much from you, from your social media, the posts, from Natalia, my girlfriend, from family, from everybody, from all these conversations. There are certain types of conversation that are nourishing. There are certain conversations that we learn from, and some that are toxic. And we have the choice which ones we want to continue.
Oh, yeah, beautifully put. That's so beautifully put, because that's it. It's a support system that we're creating for ourselves. Like, it's our own inner flora and fauna and our exterior, and all of those things are linked. The different levels of the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call it, they're affected by, because we're a microcosm of the macrocosm. So of course what we choose and what we put in and what we give out is having an effect. It's quantum physics. It's not anything weird or unusual, and there's the bridge between the spiritual and the scientific as well, that there is a physical effect by what we say, by what we do, by the actions that we choose. So I'm really, really glad that you brought that up. And there's so much more that I'm kind of thinking I want to ask you, but I think we're already at about an hour, believe it or not. And I'm still
let's put a pause on this one, and then we could do part 2.
Yeah, I think so, because I really think that people would like to know more about some of the other ones, like this lion's mane is so interesting, about health and well-being. Yeah. In the meantime, where can people find you, Rich? Like, you've got your enrichd.org website. Yeah. You're on
enrichd.org. Instagram, I do quite a lot on there. So again, it's /enrichd.org. Facebook the same. You choose whichever one you guys like, if it's Facebook, Instagram. Twitter, I use a little bit, not too much.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to be transferring a lot of it to enrichedsuperfoods.com, which is not there yet, but just to plant that seed. So Enrichd.
Yeah, that was one of my questions actually, about future exciting things, and I'm sure there will be more. And when we come to part 2, we'll definitely speak a little bit more about that as well, kind of what things you've got, what your vision is going forward, because I think most people who are kind of entrepreneurial, especially around health and well-being, will be thinking all the time about what's evolving and what they can do and where they can take it for the greatest good of the greatest number of people, hopefully. I know that's what motivates me. I'm sure it does you too. So, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us your time. I will make sure that when I upload this, I'll put the links to where people can find you on it. And let's book in time for another one.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. Really enjoyed that.
When are you back in the UK, by the way?
I'm not sure. In maybe mid-March, something like that.
Okay. All right then. Yeah, a little while longer. All right. Thank you so much.
We'll chat this like in a week or something. Let's do another one.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Lots of love.
Cool.
Bye.
See you. You too.